before Amazon, there was a garage in Bellevue, Washington, and a 30-year-old man typing on a folding table made from a door. Jeff Bezos wasn't born into ordinary circumstances. His mother, Jacqueline, was 17 when she had him, a teenage marriage that ended quickly. His stepfather, Miguel Mike Bezos, a Cuban immigrant who'd fled Castro's regime alone at 16, raised him with a quiet, relentless work ethic. But it was Jeff's grandfather, on a ranch in Texas, who shaped him most. Summers spent fixing windmills, branding cattle, and repairing bulldozers taught a young Bezos something that would define his entire career. Complex problems get solved by taking them apart, piece by piece, with patience. He was a strange, brilliant kid, the kind who dismantled his crib with a screwdriver as a toddler and later built alarm systems out of household items to keep his siblings out of his room. By high school, he was giving valedictorian speeches about colonizing space, not as fantasy, as inevitability. Bezos studied electrical engineering and computer science at Princeton, then did what any prodigy chasing security would do. He went to Wall Street. By his late 20s, he was a senior vice president at a hedge fund, D. Shaw, earning a salary most people would never question walking away from. Then, in 1994, he saw a statistic that changed everything. Internet usage was growing at 2,300% a year. Almost no one else was paying attention to that number. Bezos was. He drew up a list of 20 products that could theoretically be sold online, and narrowed it down to one: books. Not because he loved books above all else, though he did. Because books were the perfect first product: infinite selection, no perishability, and a market no physical store could ever fully stock. He walked into his boss's office and quit. His boss took him on a long walk through Central Park, urging him to think it over. Bezos went home and used a framework he would return to for the rest of his life. Imagining himself at 80, looking back, and asking which choice he'd regret more. He and his wife Mackenzie packed a U-Haul and drove west, writing the Amazon business plan on a laptop, somewhere in Texas. Neither of them fully knew what they were about to unleash. The garage in Bellevue became Amazon's first headquarters, extension cords, running to makeshift desks, packing tables built from cheap doors because they were cheaper than real desks. Bezos raised money the hard way, pitching to roughly 60 investors before securing $1 million, mostly from his parents, who risked a significant portion of their life savings, without fully understanding what the internet even was. Amazon.com launched in July 1995. Within a month, it was shipping books to all 50 states and 45 countries. Growing so fast the small team was packing orders on their knees on a concrete floor. Until 1 a.m. But Bezos's real strategy wasn't books. It was infrastructure disguised as a bookstore. He understood something competitors didn't. Whoever built the best logistics, the best customer trust, and the most efficient ordering system would eventually be able to sell anything. Books were just the entry point. The dot-com crash of 2000 nearly ended it all. Amazon stock collapsed by over 90%. Business magazines mocked the company, coining the nickname Amazon.toast. Analysts openly predicted bankruptcy. Employees watched their retirement savings evaporate. Bezos, famously unflappable, held emergency meetings where he reminded his team of a brutal truth. The stock price is not the company. The company is the customer relationships you build when no one's watching. He made a decision that seemed reckless. At the time, instead of cutting costs to survive, he kept investing in infrastructure, warehouses, and technology, betting that the internet's collapse was a bubble bursting, not the internet dying. It was a bet few other CEOs were willing to make with their own company's survival on the line. Then came an idea that terrified Amazon's own board: Amazon Prime. Launched in 2005. Free. 2-day shipping for an annual fee. Sounded like financial suicide, a program that would cost the company enormous amounts of money before it ever proved itself. Bezos pushed it through anyway, betting that customer obsession, not short-term margins, would eventually become Amazon's deepest moat. He was right, but the growth brought a new kind of pressure. Employees would later describe Amazon's internal culture as relentless, demanding, sometimes brutal, a reflection of Bezos's own uncompromising standards. Investigative journalists exposed grueling warehouse conditions. Labor organizers began pushing back. The empire Bezos built to delight customers was, simultaneously, drawing sharp criticism for how it treated the people inside it. By the 2010s, Amazon wasn't just a store anymore. It was becoming the invisible infrastructure of the internet itself. And Bezos was about to make his most audacious bet yet, one that had nothing to do with retail at all. That bet was Amazon Web Services. Built quietly starting in 2006, AWS rented out Amazon's own computing infrastructure to other businesses, an idea so unconventional that even inside the company, some executives questioned why a retailer was building a cloud computing division. It seemed like a distraction from the core business. Instead, it became one of the most profitable technology platforms ever created, eventually generating more operating profit than Amazon's retail business itself. Bezos had done what he always did best, seen infrastructure value where others saw only overhead. By 2018, Amazon had crossed $1 trillion in market value, and Bezos had become the richest person in modern history, with a fortune exceeding $150 billion at its peak. But wealth on that scale brought scrutiny few humans have ever faced. His 2019 divorce from McKinsey Scott resulted in one of the largest settlements in history, and McKinsey, freed from the company she'd helped build, went on to give away tens of billions to causes worldwide, drawing praise that stood in sharp contrast to criticism. Bezos faced over Amazon's tax practices and treatment of warehouse workers. In 2021, Bezos stepped down as CEO, handing Amazon to Andy Jassy, and turned his attention to the ambition that had followed him since that valedictorian speech decades earlier, space. His company Blue Origin, founded years before SpaceX, moved more cautiously, guided by his motto Gradatim Ferociter, step by step, ferociously. That same year, he flew to the edge of space himself, a moment that drew both admiration and accusations of vanity from critics who argued the money could have solved problems on Earth first. Through the Bezos Earth Fund and other philanthropic efforts, he has since committed billions toward climate initiatives and communities' attempts, some argue, to reshape a legacy defined as much by labor controversies as by innovation. The debate over whether he's done enough remains unresolved, and probably always will. What Bezos' story ultimately teaches isn't about books, or clouds, or rockets. It's about the discipline of thinking in decades while everyone else thinks in quarters, building infrastructure nobody asks for, because eventually, everybody needs it. The garage is gone. The door desk sits in the Smithsonian now, a monument to a simple idea. Greatness rarely starts with certainty. It starts with a person willing to look foolish long enough to be right.